Call the meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Here.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item is the moment of silence by Mr. Majors.
Let's see. As we begin this meeting, let us pause for a 60-second moment of silence to reflect, meditate, pray, or engage in any other silent activity. Thank you.
Next item will be the Pledge of Allegiance led by Cheryl Kelly, the Deputy Board Clerk.
Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item will be the formal adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you. Item number 5 is the adoption of the September 10th, 2018 board meeting minutes. Any discussion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item will be the approval of the September 13th special board meeting minutes.
Move approval.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Abstain.
Mr. Majors?
Abstain.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 7, Dr. Dunlop.
Thank you, President Allen, members of the board. Tonight I have the distinct pleasure to present what is called the Popular Annual Financial Award. This is, in short, called the PAFR. And what it means is, you know, we get criticized all the time in education that our accounting practices are very vague or it's hard to understand. So I have to compliment, and if I could have Ms. Enith and Ms. Dixon come on up here, I want to recognize both these ladies. They partnered together to create a document or a series of documents that shows the general public how our finances are done in a way that's very, very easy to understand. And in recognition of what they did, they received the PAFR Award. Broken Arrow is the first district in the state of Oklahoma to ever win this award. So I want to recognize them this evening.
Awesome.
And present this to them.
Thank you all. With transparency being the hot topic in education, that's well done for you all. We appreciate it. Next item, number 8, Ms. Burns.
Good evening, members of the board, President Allen and Superintendent Dunlop. This is one of those occasions that I never get tired of being the person who's asked to present. This is the evening when we present each year our National Merit semifinalists. So before we present those 3 young people to you, let me tell you a little bit about how they achieved this status. Every year, all of our sophomores take the PSAT, the preliminary SAT test. In fact, they're all excited that they'll be doing that this Wednesday. We'll be taking the PSAT. Those students who score highest on the PSAT, we encourage to take the test again as juniors, because PSAT's full name is PSAT/NMSQT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. The students who in their junior year scored the highest on that test nationally are recognized as National Merit semifinalists. Just to let you know how rare this is, National Merit semifinalist status is awarded to approximately 1.5% of the seniors in the United States. 1.5. So that's incredible. Also, I'm going to brag on our school team at the high school a little bit. Last year we had more students who reached semifinalist status, but you really kind of begin to look at is it even a possibility of whether they will break through to that high level if they hit at least a 200 on the selection index for the PSAT. There's mathematical calculations that go into that, and then they look at how did everybody else in the country do and rank up higher from that and decide where's the threshold where someone will hit National Merit semifinalist status. We increased at the high school, even though we had a smaller number of semifinalists this year, we increased those students who hit at that 200 and above level 60% over the year before, which is incredible. And I think we're going to continue to do even more. We are very deliberately taking steps to try to help those students who have this type of ambition and talent and drive to continue to hit that threshold. And even those students who are not National Merit semifinalists, if they're scoring at that level, they're going to be receiving good scholarship money. These students that you're going to see tonight, that National Merit semifinalist ticket usually means upwards of $100,000 in scholarship assistance that they will likely qualify for. So we're very, very proud of these three students, and if they'll come forward at this time, I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you, and looks like we might be missing one. I know that all three were planning to be here. I know that all three have very, very busy schedules too, so I will allow them to introduce themselves to you, to tell you where they are planning right now to attend college and what they are planning to study, and to introduce any special guests that they may have with them tonight.
Hi, I'm Mason Simmons. I plan on attending OSU, and I plan on studying definitely engineering, and possibly minoring in some form of music, whether it be performance, composition, that sort of thing. I have with me tonight my mom in the back and my dad in the blue. My cousin in the pink, my Aunt Kara, who's a teacher, her son Cade, and my grandmother Judy Simmons.
Hello, my name is Jillian Lefevre. I am hoping to get into either Stanford or MIT to major in computer sciences to help build robots and code stuff. My wonderful mother with me is here tonight in the red back there, standing up filming me. I love you.
I bragged on our high school team a little bit, but Mason mentioned that his aunt, who's a teacher, is here. Our families are our first teachers, and so we appreciate so much the efforts of our families. I don't think any of these students reach the level where they are completely alone, and that's true of their school families too. It's not just at the high school, it's from those pre-K and kindergarten years all the way up through elementary and middle school and their high school years. hopefully provide a great background for them as they head off to college. So we're very proud of these and very glad to present them this evening.
Congratulations to you all, and to the parents more so. Takes a great support staff and support system. So congratulations to you all. Well deserved.
And I echo that. Congratulations to you and your families. We can't wait to see what you do in the future, and we're so proud that you are part of Broken Arrow family. Thank you.
Dr. Dunlap, don't you want to get a picture with them?
Sure, I'll get a picture.
Yep. Parents, you can come down close if you'd like. Come on down here. Congratulations, you too. Ms. Burns, when's the finalists announced?
That won't be until the spring.
Well, we expect to see them back then too.
I'm thinking that that's a possibility.
Good deal. Next item, number 9, Ms. Bergwall.
Hello, President Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I brought with me Ms. Replogle today to ask you all to accept a donation of a very nice bronze miniature statue of Mr. Childers. Bill and Celia Englehart have they got this statue back when the Veterans Park statue was made, and it's a miniature of that. And they are downsizing, and they would love for us to have that, and for Stacy and her kids to get to display that there at Childers.
Very good. Come on.
That's
Come on
amazing.
up there.
Is it heavy?
Oh, awesome.
Wow. That is
Do you
cool.
want to get a picture on this too?
Hang on, we got to vote first.
Sorry. I was gonna
We want to
have
make it
one
official. Start taking the pictures. Any discussion?
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
John's got Will too.
You didn't wear the tan pants.
Blue kind of night.
You didn't get the call, did you?
They probably came from the firehouse.
I did.
Thank you all for that wonderful donation. Next item, number 10, comments from the public. We have none. Number 11 will be the BAEA report from Ms. Brown.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Brown, and I'm the president of BAEA. I would like to introduce some of our new officers that are here. This is our chief negotiator, Tina Jervis, and this is our financial treasurer for BAEA, and it's Margaret O'Daniel. We also have a vice president at the high school. Her name's Meg Warren. We have a secretary, Rachel Christie, and we have Casey Westman, who is our chairperson for our membership. We would like to thank the school board and the district's negotiation team for a productive negotiation session and for our compensation package. Certified staff and support were extremely thankful last Friday when we received our stipend. That was a really nice surprise, and the teachers were very appreciative, and the support staff as well. So we would like to thank you for your devotion to education. BAEA is certainly working on our legislative committee. We are working closely with our area locals, with Bixby and Union, Tulsa, Sand Springs, just to name a few. We're delivering literature to voters on education-friendly candidates in close races. Together, we are canvassing local neighborhoods each Saturday until the election day in November. Educators are lifelong learners who want the best for their students and our community. Our next candidate issue forum is hosted by the Oklahoma Academy and is scheduled for October 23rd at OSU in Tulsa. The local candidates will tell us their thoughts on education, the state budget, and the economic growth. We can't just want change, we must be the change that we are looking for. Our children deserve to have the classroom opportunities to explore, experiment, and figure out what excites and motivates them. We still have so much ground to gain, and we hope you'll join us as we work together to ensure that the movement does continue. Many of us learned from the walkout that we can't just want change, we must actually be the change. We have accomplished much in a short time and know that there is more work to do. Together we are stronger, and BAEA appreciates your continued support.
I wanted to make a comment. I do believe that we're moving in the right direction as it relates to those in the classroom. Getting engaged in the legislative process is essential to changing the climate and changing what currently is happening or has happened in public education. And I know teachers are so dedicated, our support staff are so dedicated, and our administration as well. Sometimes we get so tied into what we're doing and focusing on, which is the real work. But yet, without doing that other piece, which is the legislative piece, then we sometimes get things done to us instead of having the appropriate things done for public education. Right. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, and if we can harness all of that talent of teachers to say to them to be more engaged, not only in their classroom, which they do a phenomenal job in the classroom with students, but we can't get it done unless they start getting more involved on the legislative end, and I believe we're moving that direction, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 12. Ms. James? Is that who has it doing it, Carla? Okay.
That was Carla.
She's got a ringer coming up. That's why.
Called in a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
Bullpen.
Uh-huh.
All right. I am here to present to you our strategic plan for 2.0 for our year 2 update. So our progress on our strategic plan for 1.1 is discussing the expanding Naviance to all students 6th through 12th grade. We are now doing that. It's full implementation through the 9th grade at BAFA. At the Freshman Academy, they have done it really well. They've kind of set the level for us. So we're implementing that at the high school through advisory time and have begun to have that conversation with middle school, how we can implement that a little bit more. At the middle school level, we're talking about career exploration, just making them familiar with the different options that are out there. Kiddos tend to just know what mom and dad do and their teachers. So our job really is to invite partnerships in the community to come in and visit and share with students the different pathways and career opportunities that there are out there. So with Naviance, they will just basically do an interest inventory, and we're hoping to use that to dictate to us to who to invite, which careers to bring in, what speakers to bring in and to share with them. We also have begun to have the conversation with elementary counselors as well, to have those conversations with kids, start using the same vocab. So as they move into middle school, they'll understand as they begin to work on their individualized career academic plans. Also, what we're hoping to do is all secondary staff, our parents, and our students will begin using the same terminology so that we understand. We use ICAP. It's really just their career plan, what they want to do, what classes they want to take. We'll be having the parents having access to Naviance as well. We're hoping to create our career pathways that we can show how our classes that we're offering, courses that we offer, tie into those goals that they're setting for themselves. So that way, through helping the students know what they can do, but also showing the relevance of why they're in the classrooms with us. We're also hoping to provide opportunities, encourage the parents and students to explore roadmaps by visiting local businesses, colleges, branches of military, and also inviting those partnerships into our sites and different campuses as well. All right, one of the things on the 1.2.2, we're hoping to fulfill another year, and then after that, kind of have an opportunity to evaluate where we're at. How do we continue to get the message of our ICAP, our individualized career plans? How to make sure that we're communicating how to access, how parents can use that, how they can use it with their students at home as well, their children at home, to learn more of the opportunities that we have as well. So towards the end of next year, we're hoping to begin that survey to help lead us to better ways to communicate that and share that information with our parents and students. Also, at this point, I'm going to hand it off. I was just going to keep talking. There you go.
Ms. James?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I ask a couple of questions?
Please.
And you did a great job in explaining how we're going to be bringing this information forward. I wanted to ask, as it relates to informing our public about maybe doing some online videos or placing some of the common vocabulary online. I'm sure that you've already gotten to that point, but could you expound a little bit on how that might be made available so that they are more informed?
Right, and I appreciate you saying that, and that's what I'm hoping, because right now we're basically focusing on our students and the parents, so that next level would be with our partnerships and the community itself. Hopefully by inviting them into the site to have, like at middle school, we have speakers come in to share different things. We can begin to get them familiar with the process. We can, at our chamber meetings, at our different meetings, through our PTA or PTO, through our gifted and talented chats, begin to have those conversations so parents are at least familiar, and they begin to build a foundation of understanding as we move our students through high school, building that. So it's definitely on our list to do, and that begin to working on how do we go about familiarizing more of our community and our business leaders to help us support our students. So, does that answer?
Yes.
Does that help?
Good,
Okay.
thank
I do have a question as well.
Yes, sir.
Are our counselors the ones that are implementing this in our sites? Is that how it's happening?
They are. That's what we're hoping to. They lead the charge, so to speak. But I feel like, and I know Dr. Dunlap and Ms. Dias feel too, that it takes the whole entire village to do this. So it really takes our admins buying into that, building those opportunities through business people to come in. Also, our counselors visiting with our students, but also our teachers. The teachers are the ones too that have those relationships that the kids are going to look to them. So we're trying to educate them as well, so that it's everybody's job and everybody's responsibility. Our counselors are overloaded. I mean, across the state, the numbers that they have to deal with are pretty large. So I feel like we're wanting to educate the entire staff so that we all share that responsibility and it doesn't just fall to those few handful.
That was kind of why I was asking that question. It would seem that as much as our counselors have on their plate, that's a pretty daunting task.
It is.
With the 22,000 students that we have.
It is. And I think what we can do and allow them to help us with is to be able to script the information so that we're getting the correct information. Teachers are very excited to share that, but they're always like, I'm afraid I'm going to give the wrong info. So what I'm asking counselors to do is script the information. What do we want to say? What is correct? How will these classes fit into your pathway? And then share that with teachers so they have that sense of security that I am sharing with you what the counselor told me to say, but they're also having that relationship that students believe what they say and they want to hear what they say and they value what they share as well.
How does the implementation of advisory play into this?
It is a huge piece of that puzzle because first and foremost, we do not want to be stealing time from instructional time. We have to protect that as much as possible. So having the advisory built in the day allows us to do that. And we can do it in different ways. And the one thing I try to express to all the secondary admin is that we have the idea of what we want to do, but it may look different at middle school. At middle school, we may implement some things during Tiger time, during our INE or an instructional enrichment time. It may look different. Some schools have said, we're going to do it once every 3 weeks. We're going to do a big push that week. Then we go back to intervention. Some are saying, you know what, we're going to do it once a week, one day a week. We're going to discuss that. I've allowed that up to them because I think each site has a personality and what fits best with them, as long as they are enforcing our view of the district and we're saying this is what we want and they support that, we're allowing that. that. At ninth grade, at BAFA, they do advisory every day. So they're able to build that in. They're able to address it every day when they need to. At the high school, we've implemented that this year. Shout out to the high school. They are working hard. They're implementing a lot of changes. So we appreciate all they're doing, but their advisory is one day right now, getting teachers used to that, getting used to that different time. So they're trying to implement it during the advisory. And then as we proceed next year, we're hoping to do that twice a week. Then we'd be able to do that. They also have our college and career counselors who are also there at the high school to give more support. The neat thing with Naviance, how we're using the ICAP, is that we can do all of our scholarships through that as well, and that is great. One of the things they do in Naviance is they do like a road trip, and you'll see somebody from New York, maybe a chef, and they'll interview him and video him, and he'll describe what he's doing. One day in one of our meetings, we talked about what that looks like in Broken Arrow. What would keep us from creating our own road trips that show what somebody down the street who started, a new company or a new business, and implement that so that it's more closer to home as well. So we're trying to use everything we have, but the advisory, I feel like, is very important to protect the instructional time.
And it seems like from what you're saying, it's very critical that our site principals are on board of this is the wishes of how we want to go, and would expect the support on each site's end as well. To help us
and that's
implement
what we're trying to do, is start with the admin to understand, and they're part of a committee. All of them have been attending, and we meet and talk about how do we do this, how do we accomplish this. But at the same time, we have to protect teacher morale because they are overloaded. They are doing a lot of planning. So what we've constantly said in our meetings is to protect that is how can we give the teachers the information where they do not feel it's an additional plan time. Here's the information, here's what you need to share, here's the video, click play, and then you answer any questions that we all know, but at least they don't feel like it's an additional prep time for them. And that's where the admin come into place. And with all things, it's accountability to make sure that what happens at Childers is happening at Oneida Ridge. We want equity across all of our sites. So that's where they come in, and our middle school principals, where we'd see that of an impact, work really well together. It may look different, but they're still doing the standards and what we're expecting them to do.
I do think, and I do agree with you in building the capacity.
Yeah.
District-wide, so we can set forth that initiative and do what we need to do. And we're going to see some really good things out of this, I believe.
I think so too, and it just needs to become part of our culture.
Yes.
That it's not a shiny toy that we're chasing after, that it is really who we are as Broken Arrow. We are about students getting a career or college and moving forward and being successful.
We want people visiting our district to steal our ideas.
Yes, I would love that.
Exactly.
We had one,
These are
we
the
were wanting to
things that
visit somewhere, and they wanted to charge us. I was like, oh, that'd be great. We're going to charge as soon as we get this patent. As soon as it's going.
Exactly.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Pass it off. All right.
I'm going to talk about our progress on 1.3, which is basically meeting the needs of our high academic achievers and our gifted students. So we implemented a lot of change toward this goal last year. So we are in the phase basically of refinement and making sure that we're continuing to meet those students' needs. The one big change that we did implement this year was we started a gifted blanket test at the middle school level. We did that already, 7th grade. So every 7th grader that if they had already been identified gifted, we did not retest them. So any other student, we went ahead and blanket tested them. We identified, the first part of it is a screener. So we had 50 students that qualified to go ahead and take the entire test. And we identified about 27 more students that actually qualified for gifted. So we feel like that was definitely a success. And you talk about getting our academic enrichment specialists, who are elementary people, out of their comfort zone. But they were amazing. They just took the bull by the horns and got it done. So it was pretty cool. Another thing that we did at the end of last year is we created a small committee of principals, got together and created a placement card for our elementary students as they were building classes for students this year. The reason that we did that is we wanted to identify criteria. We know it identified gifted students easy because they've passed the gifted test. But what makes a high achiever? What does that look like? What does an average student look like? So we wanted to make sure that as we were looking at students, we would be able to identify criteria so that we would be able to place them appropriately in clustering. So we wanted to make sure that we did have balanced classes. And so that was utilized at the end of last year so that whenever our class makeup this year, it would be more balanced than what it was the first year of implementation. The next is just, I have to mention the continued work of our academic enrichment specialist. They are, so the first part of the year, they were blanket testing 7th grade. During that time, they're also attending all of the parent meetings for our advanced math placement. We did that a little bit differently this year. We made them site-based because we wanted parents to be able to ask those site-specific questions of what advanced math was going to look like at their sites. So each of them attended those meetings for their 3 sites. They are now in the process of meeting with all grade levels just on differentiation practices. They have aligned the Envision curriculum that was approved last year for purchase that went into all the cluster classrooms. They have identified all the Oklahoma academic standards that those units meet so that teachers know when I teach this, I am covering all of these standards. And a part of their goals is the new curriculum that was purchased. They are going to be identifying enrichment opportunities or activities that can be utilized within any of the classrooms for the high academic achievers and the gifted students within that curriculum. We're really trying to make it easier for the teacher so that they know if I have the gifted cluster, I can go out and I can utilize these materials. Also, ongoing professional development. We will be sending a group to the National Gifted Conference this year. 4 of our academic enrichment specialists, 1 of them could not attend, and then 2 of our principals, because we feel as we're doing that training, we have to make sure that the administrators understand what gifted education looks like. So we have 2 that will be going, 2 principals that will be going this year, and then of course we'll go to the Oklahoma conference in February. And then our communication will continue through our gifted chats. We had our first gifted chat last week. This room was completely full. We did a presentation on how to advocate for your gifted child, and then at the end we offer just time for question and answers, which is wonderful because that's how we learn what holes we need to fill and what our parents are needing. And lastly, today the communication department has been wonderful. They put together a school messenger for all of our parents of gifted students. They got a message that went out that said, hey, the new gifted newsletter is now online. They also got a link so they could go on and they would find the gifted newsletter that will go out quarterly for them. So, and that was brand new this year. So, but that's kind of where we are there.
I wanted to compliment certainly Dr. Dunlop, you and the staff for making sure when we service these kinds of programs that we are providing the experts the professional development they need. And also as it relates to moving forward, when those individuals receive the training, then those people can give the training in our district. And that's a model that serves us very well. And I know the teachers are very appreciative of that as well.
And what's exciting, those that attend the national conference are going to come back and they are our next presenters at our gifted parent chat, so that they are coming back and sharing that knowledge as well.
Well, and on that note, I want to compliment Carla and Jennifer and Sharon and really the whole instructional team that they've learned how to use their funds to work together so that we are able to utilize them in ways that allow us to do these things. We've experienced a lot of budget issues in the last 8 years, but we've become really, really good at using federal funds with general funds with all
I noticed
sorts
that
of different
on the
funding
agenda
sources.
this evening we're using general and title.
And that's how they make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, next item 13, the general consent. Be items 14 through 75.
Move approval of the general consent items 14 through 75.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 76, Dr. Dunlop.
Yes, this item is a motion to approve or disapprove the annual election resolution for the board seat of Zone 4. This is a process we go through every year by which when a board seat opens, we are required by law to put aside funds that will fund that upcoming election.
Okay. Discussion. Okay.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, number 77, Dr. Dunlop.
Yes, this item is a discussion motion and vote on motion for our board and I to attend the National School Board Association Conference in Philadelphia this year. Actually, next year in 2019, but this school year. We don't know the cost of to the district. That'll be determined, but it's funded with board funds, so we set aside money to do this. It will be 3 years this spring since the board has attended this, because the board did see a point of making sure that we use our funds wisely, and especially through the budget issues, chose to forego this, but we would like to attend this year.
Discussion.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Do you want to decide who is going?
Excuse me.
All 5 of you will
Well, I don't know if, I think you can ask that.
individually?
Yeah, I don't think you have to vote for one particular person.
Don't have
Since
to look at their
the
calendars.
entire board, everyone can look at their calendars and
Yeah.
let you know if they're able to go or not. Next item, number 78, Mr. Stecker.
Good evening. This next item, asking for your approval to amend the 2018-19 teacher compensation schedule agreement. The steps that need to be adjusted are Masters Step 10 and 11, increase $500. Masters plus 15, Step 10, $500. Masters plus 30, Step 10, $500. Masters plus 45, Step 10, $500. Excuse me, and doctorate steps 10 and 11, $1,320. These adjustments are needed to meet House Bill 1023, subsection G, that states that a certified personnel makes over the state minimum 1 year, must make over again this year. Through our first state report, we've had some employees that kicked out, saying they're underpaid, so we need to make the adjustment to the schedule.
Just a couple's underpaid, not all of them?
13 total.
Sounds like they're all underpaid.
They're all underpaid, but
Should've kicked them
according to the
all
state
out.
report now, 13 are underpaid. 12 masters, 1 doctorate.
Not according to the state.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry about that, couldn't resist.
Mr. Stecker, a lot of times, when we get in subcommittees, it's real easy to talk to staff and thank staff for various things that they do, but publicly, I think it's just as important to thank staff members for what they do. I know that given what you are doing, along with other staff members in the department at HR, the processes and the data is getting more clean all the time. So I do want to extend my thank you to you publicly, and then also move approval pending any further discussion.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Stecker. Next item, 79, Ms. Kearns.
Good evening. I bring to you tonight an information item that we hope to have voted on next board meeting in November. Each year we purchase legislative updates from RFR, our legal representatives, and we form policy groups or councils in each section of the board policy manual to make sure that we're in compliance with all updated laws from the state of Oklahoma, as well as any other adjustments that need to be made for this year's policy. All of our policy councils have met for the first quarter this year and reviewed all of the suggested and mandated updates we received from RFR, and you have those now, and we ask that you review those, and we'll bring it to you for a vote next board meeting.
Before we move forward on it, I think it's appropriate to go ahead and not pull, but I'd like to just make a couple of comments regarding policy 1230, which has to do with public comments. I do appreciate very much the review process, and I do appreciate change. I think change is very important in an organization, especially when those changes are for the right reasons. I would say, though, in this particular case, I want to bring a few points forward. That doesn't mean that the board may choose to move forward with the recommendation as it relates to this particular item. But if we were to approve that, it would mean that a person, a member from the public, would need to be here 15 minutes in advance of a 6 o'clock meeting. So I'm going to basically say that this policy has been in place since 1984. There have not been any historical problems with this policy. One of the things that I'm very committed to is to ensuring that our public has access to the board. It's extremely important. And I think one of the things that staff members are doing such a great job at, and we see processes continuing to change, is being more open. We just want to make sure, again, that we're not doing anything that would hinder the public from believing they have access to the board. So that is a point that I want to make. Also, we've got to realize, too, the work schedules of people today. The work schedules are such that a lot of people are coming from downtown. So they're leaving, and remember now, they can get the forms online, but they cannot, they can't submit the form until they get here. So they're having to get here by 5:45 to get the form in advance to whoever is the clerk of the board or the president. So we may be demonstrating to our public that we're not accommodating them if we make this change. And I want us to be very cognizant of that. The other thing is we have districts around us that do start later. We have a district that starts at 6:30. We have a district that starts at 7 o'clock. Just from a historical perspective, Broken Arrow Public Schools for years had 7 o'clock meetings. But it was changed to 6 o'clock to accommodate our staff members. And back then, we weren't, and again, this is no criticism, the board didn't have a consent philosophy like the board does now. So you had board meetings going to 10 and 10:30 at night. So in order to accommodate our staff members, we said we got to do something about this. And so I wasn't on the board at the time, but the board decided to change it to a 6 o'clock start, recognizing that was going to be early for some to get here. It is a public meeting. So I think that's something we need to think about. The other thing that we need to think about is Tulsa Public Schools permits, this is just for information, they allow members of their public to submit an item to speak to up to the consent agenda. So they don't have to get there ahead. They only have to have it submitted before the consent agenda is completed. Now there again, I bring these points forward not to say that I'm opposed, but to say that I'm really thinking through this and really wanting to make sure that whatever we do, we set that culture. You know, that we've got core values in our organization right now, and I support them fully. And I want to continue to support that to our community, to let them know how important they are and their voice is. And if we hinder their voice at all, it is not a transparent thing. And that's what I want to bring forward. I appreciate the fact that we're continue to talk about ways to improve facilitation. So this is not a criticism, but it is something we need to all think about before we vote to approve any change in this policy. And I wanted to make those comments.
Ms. Kelly, I'd like to comment to that. I don't think the intent of any of this was to hinder, stop, or prevent public from commenting. I think one of the items was to have a clear timeline to help guide through the start of a board meeting, because we did tell someone no to the public comment section prior to a board meeting because of trying to start a board meeting within minutes of starting the board meeting and getting the public comments request. So the only thing it is to give a basis or some structure to taking public comments, and we will take them all, but we have to have some sort of order so we can get the meeting started, not saying we don't want to hear from you or you can't talk. Now there are other options out there that I thought was provided in subcommittee to how it could be turned in the week prior to the meeting. However we wish to do it, it needs to be understood. This is nothing more but to provide some structure in how we can take on public comments, because I don't want to be sitting here in the president's seat and tell someone, no, I make that determination by myself. You're not here in time to give a comment. I would rather the policy directs or dictates either they're here or not here on time or have met the policy needs to do it for that meeting to talk to the public comment section of the agenda. Nothing else, nothing more, just to provide some structure for us within a meeting. That's all it is.
I do appreciate what you're saying there, and I think by me coming forward with what my concerns are publicly, and then you stating yours, I think we very easily could come to terms with something that meet the needs of both transparency and what you're saying as related to someone submitting.
I just felt it needed to be noted that it's not to keep anyone from talking. It's just to provide structure so we can get a board meeting started, and that's it, nothing more. So I don't want to tell anyone no. I don't. As sitting in the board of the president's seat, whenever it changes someone else, they want to tell someone no, that's fine. I'm going to tell the public they can't give a comment. We were just trying to come up with a baseline to where those should be given in a timely manner so we can start and be organized through our board meetings. Some topics are more heated than others, so we're going to have more public that want to talk on other things. So with some sort of little structure, we can go back and review this at this time and bring up those other items. I think there were 5 items of how other districts do it, suggestions, and reevaluate that and see how we want that to fit to our policy.
Well, and Mr. Allen, I appreciate what you say too about not wanting to have to tell somebody no. I totally 100% agree with you, because there's only been one case when I was president where someone tried to submit about 30 seconds before the board meeting started.
Absolutely, and I agree. It puts you in a tough spot.
But I think it's important to know your point of view. I think it's important to know everyone's point of view, and then that helps when you start engaging a little bit further as we come closer to the second reading.
Yep.
Yes.
I agree. And I'd ask that you please send those back out again, those suggestions, so board members can look at those to look at other, all the options, or maybe they come up with their own. But during this time, I think it's a good time to do that. Okay.
I think that's
Thank
great.
you.
And we have a leadership member who leads each policy division. In case you have questions over any of the other, there are 26 being submitted to you tonight.
Okay.
As far as the board policy section 1, that is the only one that does not have a policy council attached, so I will just await direction on that one. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item 80. Ms. James.
Good evening, Mr. Allen, Dr. Dunlop, members of the board. I am presenting to you for your consideration to approve or disapprove the purchase of Cengage Learning of online math curriculum known as Big Ideas. The resource will be available July 1st through 2018 through June 30th, 2024. The total cost to the district is $294,770 and would be paid with the textbook allocation fund and with bond funds.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Get those math scores up. Next item, number 81. Ms. Enoff.
Good evening. Monthly financial information through the end of September. Okay. State aid allocation, as a reminder, our initial allocation is $55 million. This is $11 million more than what we received at this time last year, primarily due to the raises that were passed in House Bill 1023. The good news is, as of to date, we are on track to receive what our allocation is for, so that's very good news. Of course, we'll find out more information in January when our October 1st information goes into effect. Ad valorem collections so far to date are back taxes, and Additionally, our state sources have been increased for our FBA figures and the textbook allocation of approximately $892,000. Building fund, again, ad valorem is our main collection in this fund, and the local sources is a differential of some donations that vary from year to year that are collected within building fund. Child nutrition, you'll notice the biggest outlier in this is in our federal sources of collection. Ms. Goodacre has had a little bit of logistical problems submitting some of our claims through the State Department, and for August and September were particularly large amounts, so she is working very diligently right now to get those claims submitted for the district, and we hope to receive those by this time next month. So our general fund, as you could see the increase in our revenue, accordingly you'll see the increase in our expenditure to fund the raises that were passed and approved. And like I said, to this date we are receiving what we were supposed to from the State Department, so that is very good news. Last week, additionally, the paper reported that state tax revenue has been collected at an all-time high for the month of September. $1.2 billion was collected last month, which is the highest collection amount ever for September. So obviously that's very good news for us as a school district. Additionally, the state bond rating has been changed from negative to stable, and that's again just like us as a district, the state as a whole is rated, and so that rating to me indicates signs of recovery and stability for our state economy. The highest increase in overall in state revenue was in the gross production tax, $55.1 million as compared to this time last year. Very good news. And so I expect when the State Board of Equalization meets in December, they will be on track with their projections and appropriations. And so at this time, we are not anticipating any major cuts, which is, again, very good news for public education. Building fund, you can see everything is pretty much on track. A little bit of increase with salaries, and same for child nutrition. And our ending fund balance right now is reflecting our cash balance that was reported in the estimate of needs, and will be changed based on the audited financials that we present in the CAFR later this year. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 82, Ms. Dolahan.
Good evening, President Allen, members of the board, Dr. Dunlop. I'm here to give you the Treasurer's report as of the end of September. The cash balances report shows a total of $42,898,000 for the district. Included in this total are investments that total $30,490,000. I'm sorry, I did it backwards. I'm doing my Treasurer's report. I just realized that. Old habits die hard. Our collateral report shows $45,266,000 in collateral pledged to the schools. Our deposits that require collateral total $24,155,000 with an available balance of collateral of $21,111,000. Any questions? Okay, now I'll go to the previous item, activity funds. As of September 30th, receipts total $2,169,000. Disbursements total $1,044,000, leaving a balance in the activity funds of $4,101,000.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Ms. Metavallis.
Good evening. My first item tonight is to request your approval of the encumbrance reports effective September 6th through October 3rd, totaling $1,483,623.78.
Move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 85.
Change orders. Tonight, I ask your approval for change orders from September 6th through October 2nd, 2018, reflecting a decrease of $20,527.94.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hang on 1 second, I'm sorry.
Everybody's voting doesn't come up.
There you go.
Thank you. Next item, new business. We have none. Item 87, executive session.
Move to executive session?
Second?
Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Move that we return from executive session.
All right. Got a motion and a second.
Yes.
John, you in, bud?
Nope.
All right, we'll wait.
Oh, shoot. Where did I? There it is.
You going with the union, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. Get it?
It's gonna be fun.
Yep.
All right. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Next item, 89, statement of the executive session minutes by the board clerk. Okay. Mr. Denton.
The Board of Education and Dr. Janet Dunlop and Michelle Bergwall entered into executive session at 7:01 p.m. to discuss the purchase or appraisal of certain real estate property in accordance with Oklahoma Statute Title 25 OS Section 307B3. The Board of Education, Dr. Janet Dunlop and Michelle Bergwall returned to open session at 7:52 p.m. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session.
Thank you. Next item, discussion, possible board action, approve or disapprove sale of certain real estate property.
Second? Or make a motion to approve. Wait,
Approve the sale.
hold on.
I think what we want to do is, okay, I'm thinking through this. And if this is not correct, then all we need to do is say, wait a minute. But I move that the appropriate authority be given to the Chief Operating Officer to execute the details of the purchase of the property referred to in executive session.
Love it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Move
Oh,
to
number 91, it will be to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Got a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cockrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Denton? Mr. Denton?
Yes.
Mr. Majors?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. All right. Thank you.